Welcome to Digital Dominators, the podcast that helps small business owners grow their confidence, sharpen their digital skills, and actually enjoy showing up online. I'm Sooz Young, your host, tech coach, and digital cheerleader, and every week I chat with brilliant experts to bring you practical tips, smart strategies, and the tools and tech to make business easier. From social media marketing to websites, content to confidence, AI to automation, we're breaking it down into simple steps you can actually use. If you're ready to make things simpler and more successful in your digital world, you're in the right place. Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Digital Dominators, the podcast where we explore the tools, systems, and strategies that help you build smarter, more scalable businesses in the digital age. Today's episode is all about growth, but not the hustle harder kind. We're talking about the kind of growth that comes from uncovering what's already within reach, those untapped opportunities hiding in plain sight inside your business. Our guest today is Daniela Navaes, founder of Lumni, a product market fit and innovation consultancy that helps founders, startups, and small teams turn big ideas into real results. Daniela is known for helping people cut through the noise, validate their next move, and build products, offers, and systems that people actually want. She teaches a methodological, practical approach to innovation that takes you from guessing to knowing without needing a huge team or big budget. And today, she's sharing the exact frameworks and thinking she uses to help businesses go from idea to revenue by uncovering hidden opportunities and turning them into smart, sellable solutions. Plus, she's sharing a free resource with you, the new revenue stream Playbook, practical tool to help you identify new income opportunities using the assets and insights you already have. So let's get into it. Hi, Daniela.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to the Digital Dominators podcast. I'm glad to have you on today. So what I get every guest to do is to reintroduce themselves in your own words. Tell us how you got to Lumni work, your background as a product strategist and working with innovation. Tell us about your journey so far.
Yeah, my journey has been a long one. I started my design journey 16 years ago, 16, 17 years ago. Before that, I've done a lot of things, but not relevant for it right now. But I started design school, and then I've done graphic design for about 9 years. But then I started to realize that this is going to become automated very soon. So I need to broaden my skill set. I'm from Brazil. I was doing that in Brazil back then. So I decided I was going to come to the UK to do a master's in UX design. And I came here and immediately I started already working in startups and really focusing. When I learned about user research, I just fell in love with it because I saw the potential of that to generate innovation. I know when you say user research, the immediate association is not really innovation, but I'll get into that later. And that was the skill, the number one skill that allows me to do what I do today. Within that graphic design journey, I was also an entrepreneur. I've had businesses. But then when I changed to UX design, I really jumped into working with startups. I also launched a startup of my own, failed at that, but that's another story. But I've worked within startups and I also worked in consultancies. And within working within UX, especially UX research, that's when a few years ago a penny dropped and I realized that actually a lot of the innovations that I've been working on have been a direct product of my work as a user researcher. But instead of before I started the user research work as being really, really methodical, and it still is methodical, but then as experience grew, I started making it quicker. It became more lean. And this is exactly why I'm able to do what I do today. So what I do today is I have three types of clients: early stage founders, startups, post MVP, and businesses. And with startups, I call myself a product market fit strategist because I use my expertise in evidence gathering to help them get to product market fit. And with businesses, I call myself an innovation consultant because I use all my knowledge in design, research, and innovation to help them identify new ways to generate revenue in their businesses. Did I talk too much? I think I started rambling a bit. So
Not
maybe it was
at
too
all.
long.
Not at all. I think there's so much of that introduction in your own words that I'm going to pull apart a little bit more because I'd like to go into it in a little bit more detail. So you've been working in kind of innovation and design and product fit for 16 years, which is such a huge amount of experience. But what I want to start off with is just really explain what those words mean to listeners that might not know. Because as you know already, that startups are innovative usually because they're trying to solve a problem. But really, that word innovation has got so much context to it. And when we ask the question to people, what one of our 6 skills are you best at? Innovation is always the top. But I don't believe that people are actually innovative. They just know that they have an idea, but it's putting that idea into practice is what people like yourself, with all your experience and what you do, is the difference of innovation in practice. So let's just start with that word innovation, and then we'll talk about what that product strategist fit is, and we'll try and just explain what those are to the listeners. So innovation, in your words, what does that mean and what does that look like?
I love that question because when people think of innovation, they think, oh, groundbreaking ideas. That's not it. Idea is the most worthless aspect of innovation. I'm being blunt because it's the truth. I have
I
5
agree.
ideas.
I
I
agree
have
with you.
when I'm having a shower, I have 5 ideas every shower, every time. They're all worthless. For me, an innovation can only be called an innovation if it is proven to deliver a value to someone, to a specific group of people. Without that, it's just an invention.
Yeah.
And inventions are great, but an invention is a way that a person or a group of people decide that they're going to solve a problem. That doesn't mean it works. That doesn't mean someone's going to buy it. So an invention is an invention. Innovation is an invention or a new way to do something that delivers value to someone. It's a novel way to do something that someone that proven is the key word here. It's
Mm-hmm.
proven. And I would add to that even further and say that provenly delivers value to someone and generates revenue for you,
Yeah.
because that's the value bit as well. The value that someone's getting of something, you as the person who's delivering the innovation, you have to feel that too. It has to be a cycle for it to be an innovation. So for me, that's what it is.
I love that explanation, Daniela, because we train at Technology Coaching what innovation is. Creativity plus value equals innovation. And because we use the design thinking process, we put the user at the heart of that. And it's really coming up with what that core problem is and defining that to then make sure that you're providing a solution and testing it and getting feedback to then refine that even further. So I love that you've explained that it's not just an idea, it's not just an invention, it is a real user case that you're solving, that proven to solve that problem as well. So you also mentioned that you are working with businesses to find a product market fit as well. So what does that mean in your own words too?
So a product market fit is, how do I explain that? Is a word, is a term very well known to startups and founders. It's the destination, quote unquote destination, that every startup wants to achieve. But first of all, it's not really a destination because it's not like you go to product market fit and then that's it. But you have to achieve product market fit. And what it is just you have a product that is fit for a market. That's it. But it sounds simple, but there are so many. The reason why most startups fail is because they treat product market fit as a gut feeling and as a destination that is fixed rather than something that is dynamic. So with startups, so what I usually do is I help startups because this is what usually happens. Founder has an idea, founder builds an MVP, founder launches the MVP, and then nothing happens. Or maybe sometimes it does happen. It gets some traction, but then people don't stay. Or people stay for a little bit, but then consumer behavior changes and then people don't want that anymore. Or how do you say that? a competitor comes up, and then they move to that competitor. So it's so complicated, and it kind of annoys me that the word product market fit is thrown around as this holy grail in the startup, as if this is another big thing that happens in startups. A lot of founders think that the road is idea, MVP, traction, product market fit. It's not. This is why usually the people who work with me are either second time founders who already failed the first time and they realize, okay, I want to do it right now, or people who already are at the post MVP stage, but they're not stuck because I don't know what to do to get product market fit. Because the road to product market fit is more like idea, but is this a problem solution fit? Does my idea actually solve a problem? Is it solution market fit? So does my solution, does it fit into a market even? And then maybe you get product market fit. But throughout this whole journey, there's a lot of iteration. There's a lot of questioning that needs to be done. There's a lot of evidence and a lot of the proven bit that I was emphasizing. That is the proven. Every stage needs to be proven in order to be moved to the next. And when it comes to product market fit, the proof will depend on the type of product, the type of problem space that you're into. There is a very interesting framework. It's called the ARC Product Market Fit Framework. It's from Sequoia Capital, and it defines startup products in 3 categories. And knowing what your category or archetype is a more fitting word. Knowing your archetype is so important because that's going to tell you what kind of validation is going to be more important for you. So the 3 categories are the hair on fire. Hair on fire is a problem. I know
It sounds ominous, doesn't it? You're on fire.
Yeah, because we usually say, oh, what is the problem that you're solving? But not every startup actually solves a problem, and I'm going to get there. So the hair on fire archetype is the problem is obvious, it's urgent, and the people are looking for a solution. This is a hair on fire archetype. And the problem with that is that because the problem is obvious, there's going to be a lot of competition. There's a lot of competition, and because there's a lot of competition, you need to be the best to win in the market. You need to have the best user experience. You need to have the most frictionless. So it's not just about solving the problem. It's about solving the problem amazingly well, better than everyone else. And for those startups, those are the easiest, that is kind of the easiest one to prove, because if the problem is obvious, people are going to be looking for a solution. Therefore, it's going to be easier to find users to test it with. But it's hard because you have to be the best. You have to be the very best. Or you have to have a branding that makes people loyal to you because they love your brand and because they're loyal to your brand.
I just want to pause there because there's so much in that. And I think the listeners that are both product and service-based businesses, I don't think there's a difference between these when we talk about product market fit, because whatever your service is still a product that you're putting out to market. So if we put that as an example in industry, if we put that example of there might be other competitors, if we use a fitness gym or a fitness instructor that has got a unique way that they provide support for people to be able to get stronger, to get fitter, there's going to be thousands of other people that do the same. But for them to stand out within their market, they need to be shinier, right? They need to be better. They need to have the best product market fit. It's the same for people that are creating like a SaaS solution or creating a physical product in that sense as well, where whatever you're doing, yes, it might be a good fit. There might be a lot of market for it, but it's that competitive edge. What makes you shine brighter? What makes you the best to choose over your competitors? Have you got any other examples that you can think of that kind of can fit that?
Yeah. So if you think about anything that solves a problem that is very obvious, for example, Airbnb, right? Airbnb solves the obvious problem of I need to find accommodation that is in short time and affordable. My competitors are, if I'm Airbnb, my competitors before were hotels, but I created such a novel solution that solves the same problem as hotels, but it just solves it better. At least it used to. Now it's a different story, but won't get into that. So Airbnb is, other one is Uber. It solves the problem of I need to get from A to B fast and cheaper than a taxi. How do I do it? So after Uber, loads of other competitors came in the market as well. But yeah, those are very well-known examples of it. And what you said is you're absolutely right. So it's about knowing your problem is urgent, but because your problem is obvious and urgent, there's a lot of competition, and you need to be the best to win in this market. So the second type of archetype it's called the hard fact. The hard fact is a problem that is also it's a problem that people know exists, but they have resigned to the fact that that problem is a fact of life and probably cannot be solved because this is just how it is.
That's a real challenge that I've seen, and I've never heard it being called that title before. So I like this framework. I'm going to go and explore it a little bit more after our recording. But that I see that a lot with businesses because they've come up with this solution, and actually the people can't be bothered to make changes because they just realise that actually that's just how it is, when they don't feel empowered to be able to make that change or make that impact themselves. So it's not really creating something for the user or the client of whatever business that you're in. It's because their behaviors are not going to change. That's a human behavior aspect, right?
This is the biggest obstacle in the hard fact products and services is the inaction of the customer. It's one of the classic case where the founder is really passionate about solving a problem, but they just find out that people will be like, I don't know. And if your customer is not going to change their behavior, then you don't have a business. But if you can find a way, so your obstacle is going to be to convince the potential customer that your problem can be solved. I'll give you an example. Spotify. Spotify is a product that it's a huge innovation. It changed the way that people relate to music. And before that, it was CDs, right? CDs, this is how we experience music. We have to buy a CD. But then what if it's not that way? But then everyone changed to Spotify. It became the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you had imagined it wasn't a huge pain. Well, I will buy CDs and this is how it is. But then comes the solution. There's like, oh, it's so easy now. It becomes a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Another one is Dropbox.
Okay.
Because it's like, it's really hard to send files across to people. But, it is what it is. And then comes Dropbox. Did you know that Dropbox, they raised capital with a slide deck, with the most ugliest slide deck? But there was no product. It was just an idea. They just had an idea and they had to propose a solution, and that's it. They got funding just from that.
But you think now, like Dropbox, people rarely use Dropbox more because they've got solutions via Google or Microsoft or Apple.
Yeah.
And so those things didn't exist, that there wasn't the cloud-based storage for the main providers. But Dropbox solved that problem beforehand when you couldn't send large files over email. Remember, it was like a 10 meg, or it was a 5 meg email send and then a 10 meg. I think it's around 25 megabytes really now that emails still send. So you need to send things over a link now for people. This is me showing my age, but this shows also how long we've been in the industry, because we're talking about CDs all the way up now into digital solutions. Okay, so we've got, what was it, the hair on fire.
Yeah.
We've got the
hard fact.
What's the third part of the arc that you're talking about?
Is the future vision.
Okay.
It's the one that is not solving a problem. It's the one that is a product that is creating a new category, creating a new way of people do something. And the problem is not obvious. People are not even thinking about a problem. It's different than the hard fact, because in the hard fact, people acknowledge the problem. They just don't do anything about it because they just think what it is. But the future vision is just something completely new, like the iPhone, like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
It's just a completely new way to do something that is born out of someone's vision of how things could be. And this is what I meant when earlier I said, well, the startup advice is that you need to know, is a problem worth solving? But not every startup solves a problem. Like the future vision ones, they can be the hardest ones to make it, because your obstacle is get people to believe that future is possible. They need to overcome their disbelief in order to adopt the solution.
It almost feels like they need to validate it in some sort of way, that they need to prove it to other people to justify it.
Yeah.
So that they can help people understand, well, yes, you can change things, like those other two parts of like, it can solve this problem and it can change your behavior to be able to take action in some sort of way, but you have to believe in it. This is why, because of the impact that it's made to other people. So I suppose that you would need quite a lot of case study for that and a lot of users to test it out, to validate that. I'm assuming that's what you would need to do.
You need to find your early adopters.
Okay.
The people you need to be very strong in storytelling and world creating. And you need to find the people who buy into that. And those can be very hard to make because you're going to need a lot of money to succeed in a future vision product. So I usually say it's easier to do that if you're already a big company and you're designing a new product or service on that category, because you kind of already have. It's much easier to do that than if you're an individual founder. If you're an individual founder, you're going to have a really seriously strong storytelling skill, because you're going to have to raise a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to prove that you can validate. And if you cannot, you can prove that your vision can be achieved. But at the same time, you have to be flexible to realize that, okay, if this is not really landing with people, then what do I do? And this is where the validation skills. But usually, you just have to be very strong in sharing your vision of the world and convincing people as to why this is worth believing in order to make it.
Okay. I really love the way that you've explained those three. Okay, so we've got our arc there. What did you mention after that? Was there something else that you said as part of the arc?
No, those are the three. Okay. Those are the three. So you have to figure out which is your product archetype, because your product market fit journey is going to look a lot different depending on where you're at. Okay. So I really recommend people looking at that, because I just found out about this like a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh yeah, this is so good.
Yeah, it's really good. As a creator, I used to spend hours re-recording voiceovers to get the perfect tone. But finding reliable voice talent, booking studio time, and editing takes forever, and it can break the bank. That's why I recommend 11 Labs. It generates ultra-realistic AI voices and even clones your own, all in seconds. With natural-sounding speech, multilingual support, and seamless text-to-speech conversion, 11 Labs powers podcasts, audiobooks, training modules, and more. No mic required. Ready to level up your audio? Try it free today at allmylink.me/TC11labs and bring your scripts to life with 11 Labs. Yeah, I'm going to go and explore that a little bit more as well, Daniela. So is that how you start to support businesses? So let's say you're a startup and you've created, or you're starting your process of your MVP, you're looking to get investment in some sort of way. We know that there's a lot of support for female-led businesses at the moment for getting their MVP into market. What do you do to support businesses?
It's very difficult to say, because it's very case by case, but there is a little bit of a framework that works. So first and foremost, we need to be very clear about this problem space, or what is this world that you're trying to create. And you need to be very sharp about who are the customers, and you need to be specific. You cannot be all parents. Parents is not specific enough. You need to be very specific. It's parents who do a certain behavior because of this reason. You need to be very, very specific. And if people are not specific, if people are not that specific yet, then they're too early. Because usually, when I help an early stage founder, someone who is building an MVP, usually 99% of the time they haven't done enough validation yet. They're building, and they are still building based on a lot of assumptions. So actually, step one of the work is to do an assumption mapping to assess the risk of this venture. And assumption mapping is a framework that I use with founders, which is, so every startup is a collection of assumptions about four things: a problem, a customer / user. Actually, this is a distinction that we need to make. Customer is one thing, user is another thing. Sometimes they're the same person, sometimes they're not. You need to know that. So problem, customer / user, solution, and value.
Okay.
And the assumption mapping framework is a simple question: what needs to be true about the problem, about the customer / user, about the solution, and about the value for my venture to be successful? So what I help people do is, okay, let's think about the problem. Let's write a bunch of statements, assumption statements that we have about the problem. For example, I don't know, give me an example of a startup. I don't know, a product idea.
Eh, Oh, I'm trying not to use ones of people that I know in my head. Let's say you are actually, I do have an example. Somebody, because I do mentoring for Barclays Ego Labs, and so I
Okay.
speak with quite a lot of founders, are almost still, some are still in the ideation stage, and some are in that kind of, what do I do next? Right, I've got an idea, what do I do next? Or they've got an MVP and they're looking at their tech stack as part of that. That's kind of what I support through the Barclays mentorship. And it's mostly female founders, which is great. But an idea was that they had come up with an idea that they wanted to provide training for entrepreneurs, but young entrepreneurs, right, from school age. And they'd given themselves a title, but they came on the call, they hadn't even done any Google search. And the first thing that I had done was did a Google search in the same title for another business, and the exact same thing had come up, not so far away from where they were based, on the south of England as well. So that was an interesting conversation to just kind of go, well, if your idea is the part of it is doing that research to see what else is out there, if you've got competitors, because we like to get people to look at a kind of list of 15 to 20 competitors if they can, to see if there's anyone that they're competing with and what their idea
Yeah.
is that's different from that. I suppose that goes into your kind of user research that you were talking about as well. But
Yeah.
that was a real pivot moment for that person on the call was, and I know that's more of a service-based business, but their product was to get young people into entrepreneurship through their program that they wanted to run and bring experts in as part of it, almost like an accelerator in some sort of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But unfortunately, there was already somebody doing it.
Yeah, I agree. It's, step one is to look who else is doing this. Because actually, I would say it's not actually a bad sign to find
Mm-hmm.
people doing something similar to you, because it means there's a market for it.
Yeah.
So it could be a good sign. But then okay, so if I found competitors, it means people are already solving this problem, which means there's a market. But then okay, then how do I differentiate myself? That's the thing. So for that one, I would say the problem assumption is, so the idea is my product or service will train young entrepreneurs into, let's say, tech entrepreneurship. I will train school age students to become tech entrepreneurs. Let's use that. So the assumption is that there is enough students that want to become tech entrepreneurs. I would even say that students of what? How are you going to find those students? But that's a problem assumption, for example. They want to become tech entrepreneurs. Another assumption, there aren't enough free resources available for them, or they want to do it, but it's difficult for them to find free resources. They can't learn that on TikTok.
Yeah.
So this is
Like,
when you
there's funding available to support that. There's going to be
yeah,
pools of money that I can use to be able to create this program. That's an assumption as well
yeah,
that's out there
yeah,
for businesses too, just for
yeah,
that business
yeah,
too. But yeah, I get it. It's about just assuming that the things will be there, the
yeah.
support that will be there, the customer will be there, the customer wants it.
Yeah, the solution is
That's
the right solution for that,
uh-huh.
and the value assumptions are about the value that this delivers to people. So not only that, but proof that people are actually going to pay for it. So let's say that obviously you won't ask students to pay for it, but let's say schools are willing to implement this as a program. You know, so you're going to you're going to think about, okay, what needs to be true about the problem, about my customers and users, about the solution that I make and the value of it. Write the statements, all your beliefs, because assumptions are beliefs that are unproven, right? So you write down all your beliefs, and you need to be really honest when you do this, because I see a lot of people struggling to write down assumptions that they know are not true.
Do you think
Because
they don't want to do it? Is that it?
yeah,
They don't want
they don't
to hear it themselves?
They don't want to be confronted with the fact that, okay, this is a massive assumption that is
Okay.
unproven and is a massive risk for this venture. Because as soon as that becomes visible, then you have to do something about it. Otherwise, you're just staring failure in the face.
Mm-hmm.
But this work is so important to be done, because if you don't do it, then you're definitely going to fail. Whereas if you do it, the earlier you do this, the better, because the earlier you do validation work, the cheaper it's going to be, and the most likely it will be that you can succeed. But I see that a lot of young founders are attached to their idea, attached to their, and there is a psychological aspect to it. I won't go into it too much, but there is almost an attachment of their identity and their sense of self-worth with
Mm.
their startup idea.
Yeah.
And that needs to be separated because they're not the same thing. But
Mm-hmm.
so many people are afraid of testing and validating their ideas because they think that there is a sense of security in having that attachment
Yeah.
that it feels unsafe to prove that wrong. But this is as far as I'm going to go in the psychological aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Those are
step one
the
is that.
human. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the human side of it all as well, is that we're running basically off of fear most of the time, and that we're looking to not be confronted with more fear if our great idea turns out to be not the right solution as it is currently. But we need to deal with ambiguity, we need to deal with the change, we need to have agile thinking in
Yeah.
order to adapt the idea based upon understanding the market and the user and how that product fits
Yeah.
within it as well.
Yeah. And I also say this a lot because a lot of founders, they have ideas based on their own experience of the problem. It's very common, right?
Mm,
So I experience a problem and then I create a solution to solve it. And that's great, but you still need to do this. Even when you're the user, you
yeah.
need to do this because your solution is biased towards your preferences.
Mm-hmm.
And so, especially when you're the user, you need to do this.
Hey, look, I think we experience that as females that are interacting with tech products because they're not usually created. They're created with a larger amount of one demographic than there are with other demographics. So they don't think about the user experience when they're creating that product. And I think about it, and then I'm going to go into UX a little bit here. So if you think about an app and the flow of an app and how people can navigate it using their hands, really is how they interact with an app. And if you've created an app that is not laid out for the specific user and how they interact with it on their day-by-day basis, that's where I've seen some of these challenges come into play. Because let's say they're creating an app for mums. Now, mums have had their hands full quite a lot of the time, but they've created something that's so difficult for them to see or read, and they need two hands to be able to type on the large phones. And that's just a simple example of what that UX and that user experience journey is. So rather than creating lots of smaller places or difficult for them to navigate with one hand, they've created a place that they need to stop what they're doing, be separated from the work or the child or whatever it is that they're doing, to be able to interact with this piece of technology differently. And that is because there's still bias in how things are run, without going into too much about that. But it is about the user experience, I think, and the user journey, putting the person at the heart of it, the user, that customer, as you talked
Yeah.
about as well.
This is such a great example because it shows the value of putting whatever it is that you're making in front of people early. It's so simple, and
Yeah.
it could be the difference between people using it and not using it. Something so
Mm-hmm.
simple. When creating tech products, we should spend more time in front of people than behind a computer.
Yeah.
You stay behind a computer to make prototypes, to get in front of people, or to write storyboards and showing people. Because the tech, a lot of people talk about their innovations as, oh, the tech does this, the tech does that. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I've seen so I've I know I'm being very brutal, but I've been through a lot of mentorship in people asking me feedback on their pitch deck, and when I'm looking at pitch deck, there's only three things I want to know. I want to know, what problem does this solve, who is this for, and why should I care about it? If it's not
Yeah.
answering these three questions, then I lost me, and you're
I'm going
gonna
to
lose.
add a fourth question onto that as well, because if you look at it from an investor's point of view, but if you think about your investors being your customers, it is, how are you monetizing this?
Yes, 100%. How
So,
am I going to
how are you
make my
making
money
money?
back?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because these pitch decks go in front of investors, and that's what their thought process is. They're thinking, well, yes, this might be a great solution, but how's it going to make my investment? How's it going to make my return on this investment? And
yeah,
so that's a question which I don't think founders think about right off the bat. They go, oh, we get investment, that's money. But it's not. It's money from the users that you need to get so that the investors are getting that return on investment. And if it's not a clear journey, if it's not that product market fit, if it's not as if it's not as innovative as other products and services that are out there, how is it going to solve that problem in the
yeah.
right way?
I think that the skills that investors look for in founders is what is this person, how good is this person in learning and de-risking their next step? Because I can come to you with the most cleverest genius idea ever and say, oh, this is going to make loads of money. Where's the proof? Where is the proof that this entrepreneur has the skills to, okay, I'm going to validate this. I'm going to get a result out of this validation. And this result will help me decide what is my next move forward. And the goalpost is, how do I make this a money generating machine? Otherwise, no investor's going to care about it. And
Yeah,
people are too focused on, oh, this is the solution, or this is the tech, or this is how. But, you have to think about your audience, who you
yeah.
want to buy into this. So, yeah, a very good point.
So those three questions that you started off were what? Let's recap those again.
Yeah. What problem does it solve?
Mm-hmm.
For who? And why should I care about it? I, as in the audience.
Okay.
So if me, the audience, if I'm an investor, why should I care about this? Obviously, if I'm an investor, I care about how is my money going to come back to me.
Yeah.
So what evidence is this person giving me that they are capable of taking this forward in a way that generates money?
Yeah.
And when I'm mentoring founders through their pitch deck, this question for me, why should I care about it? Is okay. I think of me as a generic audience. Why should I be paying attention to this? Because I'm not the user. I'm not. So you want feedback on this, but I'm not the user. I'm not an investor. If you want, I can think like an investor. I can give you feedback like as an investor. But first and foremost, for every audience, is why should I care about this? Because I know you care about this because you're the founder. But me, the audience, it needs to be very obvious why I should be listening to this. So think about who's your audience of this pitch deck. It's probably going to be an investor, right? Why should I listen to this? Because most founders will be sending dozens of emails a day to investors and never hearing back from them. So yeah, it's very hard. There's a bit of marketing in it,
Yeah.
marketing as in
Storytelling.
storytelling and messaging, how to make a message compelling. But
Yeah.
yeah, people are too focused on the product and technology, and it's not
Uh,
enough.
And I think when you were talking about that there, and I know that we've really just addressed that kind of startup stage for MVP, but I think this is relevant for any business that is coming up with a new product or idea in what they're currently doing, right? They're having
Yes,
to adapt to the market currently. So we
yes,
know that we've been through a global pandemic. We're 6 years crazily past that, almost at the 6 year mark, which is mental, of when we went into that first lockdown. So the challenge that we've had is to be as agile as possible, and businesses have had to be flexible. They've had to become digital. They've had to come up with new ideas and products and ways of connecting with their customers. We're seeing it again with the changes of what's happening from a government level. We're seeing it what's happening on a global impact as well. So this same strategy can be brought into any part of your business whenever you're coming up with a new product idea, because that's what you talk about in your kind of free playbook as well, isn't it? Is that, okay, you've got some existing offers, but you can generate some new revenue from that as well. So can we use that same framework across, not just for
Ye-
startups?
yeah. I've just realized I spent so much time talking about startups. I hope your listeners are not pissed off by this. We're like, wow, how does this apply to me? Okay, let's talk about that. So if you are a business, you can use the same framework as startups,
Yeah.
but you can actually, because yes, you're going to have to identify an untapped problem within what you already offer, and then you're going to have to generate ideas. So maybe the difference is that you're not going to start with an idea, which is great,
Mm-hmm.
because so it's going to be great. So you're going to have to map your current journey And you're going to figure out, where are my customers still struggling, but they're not talking about it. They're probably going to be a hard fact kind of situation where people are struggling with something, but they just resign to the fact that, oh, this is just part of the journey of this service or product. It's not worth solving. So you as a business owner, you're going to map your journey, and you're going to look for the moments where is it that people are still doing work that I could be doing for them. There is in my playbook, there is a framework that I love. It's called the 10-star experience.
Okay.
This
I like
is
the
so
title.
yeah. So the principle is simple. You know what a 5-star experience is, right? So you're going to map your journey as it is, and then you are going to map it again, but imagining the most amazing, magical experience possible. And the reason why you do that, one, you're going to have a little fun doing that. You're going to imagine impossible things. Like, if this was 10 stars, how would that be? And the reason why you're going to do that is because you're going to use that to then imagine, okay, how can I make this possible? I'm going to give you an example. Interaction with lawyers. One thing that is really frustrating about interaction with lawyers is that I don't understand what they say. I send an email asking something simple, and they come back with, I don't even know what those words are, words in Latin, and I'm like, oh my God, I just want a simple answer to my question. And then I'm like, and then I have to do so much work in trying to decipher what they're saying. But okay, do you mean this? It's just a mess. So the other day, so let's imagine a 10-star experience version of just a little bit. I send my lawyer an email. I get a response that I don't understand. I send it back, and then I don't understand. And then I get just annoyed because I'm spending, I don't know, £400 an hour to feel stupid.
Yeah.
So let's imagine a 10-star experience.
You wonder if that's what lawyers do in their ideation to be able to create more money for their business. Let's
I
write
don't
it in
know.
Latin.
Exactly. Okay, let's say that I'm a lawyer, that I want to fix that. I want to actually provide a better experience for my customer. Let's map that little bit of the journey. So I send the email to the lawyer, and then this is the 10-star experience version. Immediately, I get a response back, and then a genie comes out of the computer, and it just answers my question very simply. It answers it, and then it asks me, "Do you have any clarifying questions?" And then I just speak to it, and I say, "Oh yeah, this, and that," and then it answers me. That's it. That's the experience. Impossible,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
okay, the experience is a genie pops up and immediately answers my question in a way that I can understand. And I feel good and taken care of, and I feel like I saved time.
Mm.
How can that become? So what's the real version of that? If you think in tech, it could be a simple, you can create something that responds to your email. You as the lawyer can still write a complicated email as it is. So you as a lawyer, you don't have to think how to translate a message, but you create a little tech product that does that work for you, and then it communicates directly with the customer. That could be the tech version of it. I'm just thinking out of.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love this. This is what ideation really is. It's coming up with different ideas for what that solution is. So it could be like a chatbot. It could be
Yeah.
FAQ, a simple
Yeah.
FAQ. It could
Yeah.
be a glossary of terms, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't, like, they could add that even into the email signature that
Yeah.
goes, want to understand what these terms mean, click here, and it takes them back to the website, which then impacts the traffic going back to their website. So it doesn't need to be overcomplicated, the solution. It doesn't need to be a big tech solution. It's coming up with a solution that meets the needs of that audience.
Yeah.
And what that problem is.
Yeah. And you can charge that as a premium. Oh, you want faster communication, you want to understand faster, then you can pay for it. I don't know. I'm just being unrefined here. But that could be another solution to that. That could be a service where you decide that you are going to become good at translating legalese to the later. And you can create a course to train new lawyers on how to speak like that. Something that is only accessible to your consultancy and your company.
Yeah.
Just an idea. But, this is a simple example of how you can identify problems within what you already deliver and create new revenue streams. And then what you do after that is that you make a small version of it and you test it out. You just test it out. But tests need to be quick, cheap, and easy to do.
And show the I think they also need to show the differences. So what was before to what was after.
Yeah.
And so before they tried this product to what after they tried this product, and what were the things in between that either wanted them to come back to use the product or stop them from using it? Where were those bottlenecks or barriers from them as well? And that's what we have IT testers within the tech world, within companies, to test out the products before they go to the users, that being the other colleagues within the business usually, but the or for the users that are front-facing customers. But I think even just putting it down to simple for startups as well is, how can you validate that idea? Doesn't need to be an overcomplicated solution, but validate it in a way to get the feedback that allows you to do the proof of concept and the proof of work, the proof that it allows you to then get further investment, or this is the feedback that allows us to develop it and restructure it in a different way.
Yeah. So remember before I started talking about assumption mapping your assumptions. Then after you map all of your assumptions, what you're going to do is after you write down all your assumptions, you're going to map them. You're going to create a matrix of high impact, low certainty, and high certainty. And you're going to be honest in placing those assumptions in their quadrants. For example, how much evidence do I have that this is true? If you have a lot of evidence, you put them in the high certainty quadrant. And then the impact one, you're going to understand how, if this is proven to be not true, how much would that impact my success? Then you're going to place it somewhere. And you're looking for the riskiest assumptions are the ones that are high impact and high uncertainty. Those are the ones that you need to test now, right now. And that's all you need to do. You don't need to test everything. You don't need to guess what you're going to test. You're going to test the riskiest assumptions. And that's how you define them.
That's interesting. I want to talk a little bit more about your playbook as well, because we just touched on it briefly there about how to turn your existing offers into new revenue opportunities, but it's the hidden demand that customers already love about your business that they're looking for other aspects of it. Explain a little bit more about what your playbook helps people discover, and who is it for, your playbook?
Right. The playbook is called the New Revenue Stream Playbook, and it has 3 little exercises. The exercises that will help you identify new opportunities within your business. The first exercise is the 10-star experience. You're going to find a step-by-step on how to do it. The second one is called value magnets. I'm looking at not the screen because I'm looking at it right now. So the value magnets, you're going to identify opportunities within what people already love in what you do. So you're going to find out what's working and how can you amplify it or make it better so that you can charge a premium for it.
Okay.
And then the other framework is called Friction Finder, which is you're going to focus on, it's a framework that helps you identify friction points within your existing journey that you might not be aware of, so that you can ideate solutions on that. So the playbook gives you frameworks for you to identify opportunities, and each of them you can do in like 20, 30, 40 minutes. So you can do it in one afternoon if you want to do them all, or you could just focus on one that feels more appealing. I love the 10-star experience because it's so creative, but to be more grounded, then you can go to the other two, the value magnets and the friction finder. And that's it really, because like I said, that's the step one, is identifying a problem, and then you're going to go out and do your ideas. But I don't have an idea playbook yet, but we can have a chat, like a 30-minute chat, and we can have a back and forth of ideas.
I love that, because I think that's what a lot of businesses or startups, or even businesses, actually existing businesses, they're stuck and they need somebody to hit it off with, and to kind of get that back and forth, and to help them to think differently, to maybe look at it from another point of view. And a lot of people don't have that support where they can do that from. So it's great that you provide that through what you're doing at Lumni as well. Is it Lumni or Lumni? Am I saying it correct? What do you say?
I call it Lumni, but when people say Lumni, I accept it because whatever.
It sounds like alumni, which is not like the American word of alumni. So anyway, it's Lumni.
Yeah.
The playbook is going to be in the show notes, and you can find it at lumni.work/new dash revenue dash stream-playbook, but it'll be in the show notes. You can go and have a look at it and get access to it. It's completely free. I think I'm going to go and try that at some point as well. As being an existing business, we're always coming up with new ideas, but how do we validate it quicker, right? Or how do we work out what we're currently got and coming up with new ways? And I'd quite like to follow the 10-star experience. I'm going to go and explore that myself a little bit more. But
Yeah.
I've got a feeling that I can chat to you for hours, Daniela, because we're almost at an hour. So what I'd like you to do is to kind of sum up in 3 tips. What are some things that you can share that can help people identify their untapped opportunities? What can you share?
Okay, I think tip number 1 is map your entire service journey. Be thorough. Customer does this, I do that. Customer gets this. Be very specific as what they do, what you do. So once you have that mapped out, ask yourself, where are people doing work that I could be doing for them? That's step 1. Map your journey. Look for the unidentified moments where they might be struggling, then when you could be doing work for them. Step number 2 is choose one. Choose one, just one. It could be because it's an aha moment that you never thought about. It could be because it feels easy to deliver. It could be whatever reason. Just choose one. And then the step number 3 is I will go and suggest a 10-star experience. So use magical thinking to ideate a solution. Imagine the most magical version of solving this. What does that look like? What do they feel? What do they get? And then use that to anchor it into reality. What's the real life version of this?
Yeah, great. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today, Daniela. It was such a fun conversation that it goes into kind of really what innovation is and talking about it from a practical point of view, because it's not just coming up with an idea. It's about how do you validate that idea by using the frameworks. And I love that art framework that you shared as well. I'm going to go and explore that a little bit further. Thank you so much for joining me today. Go and check out Danielle on LinkedIn as well. That's where you spend quite a lot of your time, and your website is lumni.work. And go and explore the playbook and check out how you can get support from Daniela.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a lot of fun as well. I hope this was informative. It was relevant. And I'm always available for a chat on LinkedIn. Just add me, say that you saw me on the podcast, and I'm happy to have a chat.
Great. Thank you so much, Daniela. I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Digital Dominators. I hope today's episode gave you something practical, or at least a bit of a boost to keep things going in this mad digital world. If you're enjoying the podcast, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming up. There's loads more good stuff on the way and some brilliant guests lined up too. And if you fancy going a bit deeper, come and join the Digital Dominators community. It's totally free, and it's where I share bonus trainings, podcast extras, and tools to help you build confidence with your digital skills. You'll also get access to my social media prompt calendar, so you can finally stop staring at that blank screen wondering what to post. Just head to technologycoachingonline.com/digital dominators to get started. Alright, that's it from me just now. Stay curious, keep showing up, and I'll catch you in the next one.